Okay. So let's review this again. You can close your laptop. You can leave that open. So we've got a scenario here in order to help us to understand some concepts about debate more clearly. The scenario is as follows. Tommy and Teddy are about to leave for a hike for 8 hours. They have water but no food. Eric stops them before they leave and says, I have an advocacy. I advocate that you pack a lunch. I affirm the resolution. Resolved. You guys should pack a lunch. And I define you guys as Teddy and Tommy. Now, what's the status quo in this circumstance, Tommy? You leave for your hike. What's the status quo, Teddy? Okay, well, what am I advocating? Right? What's the status quo? In the status quo, are you packing a lunch?
No.
Okay, in the status quo, you were leaving without packing a lunch. So that's the salient factor of the status quo in this circumstance is that you leave without packing a lunch. I stop you before you leave and I make an advocacy. What am I advocating? That you should pack lunch. And I form it in the form of a resolution. What's the resolution? Correct. What's a resolution? A statement we debate about. And the particular debate, we're going to say, is a resolution regarding the lunch question. The reason it's called a resolution is because it purports to resolve an open question. In this case, it resolves purportedly to us to answer the question, should you guys pack a lunch, which is open. Okay. Now let's talk about the next bit of debate information. So what is inherency about? What's inherency about? The question of inherency answers why do anything at all? In other words, which is another way of saying why deviate from the status quo. What's the status quo here? And on the salient point in question, what's the status quo? In our example. No, what's the status quo? I've asked you this a little while ago. What's the status quo in our example? No food, correct. In the status quo, they don't pack food. In the aft world, as we say, what it means to say the aft world is we accept your resolution, we pass your resolution, we agree that it resolves the point of question in the affirmative. So what happens in the aft world? How does it differ from the status quo? Yeah, in the aft world, you pack lunch. Okay. So inherency then establishes that it's a problem that we need to solve. And in this instance, it says, you're leaving for a hike for 8 hours and you're not packing any food. You go, and so I say, okay, well, I affirm the resolution, you guys pack lunch. You might ask, your first question would be what? What's the first question you ask me? When I say, you guys should pack lunch, what are you going to say? Maybe you would say no, but what question would you ask? Why, right? You guys should pack a lunch evokes the question, why? The answer is that it's going to solve a problem. The answer to this why in any affirmation is always my aff solves the problem established via inherency. If I say we should spend taxpayer dollars buying bananas and throwing them at people randomly throughout the streets, you would say why? And the answer to the question why would be, what would be the problem that's throwing bananas at people solves, okay? The answer to why is the problem of throwing bananas at people solves. In this instance, the answer to why is what? What do you think the problem is that is going to be solved if you affirm my advocacy? What problem? What problem will exist in the status quo that won't exist in the AF world? The AF world. The AF world is specifically the way in which the advocacy differs from the status quo. The way that the advocacy differs from the status quo. What's the status quo again? What's the advocacy say? So what's the difference in the AF world and the status quo? No, what's the difference 4 hours into the trip, 4 hours into the hike, your 8-hour hike? According to the affirmative, what's the difference between Teddy and Tommy 4 hours into the hike in the AF world than it is in the status quo? You don't have any food. You're 4 hours into the hike, you are what? And in the status quo, you have what? No food. And in the AF world, you have what? Food. So what problem does it purport to solve? What does food solve? Yeah, it solves hunger. So this purports to solve the question of hunger. It says, my advocacy, in the status quo, you will be hungry after 4 hours. But have no food. And you've got several different options if this were to happen. You could say, well, we just have to tough it out. We'll eat in 4 hours. And I know we're really drained right now. We really could need to eat something. We're going to live. It's not going to kill us to go 4 hours more without eating. Or you could say, okay, well, let's go hunting then. Let's kill us some squirrels and make a fire and cook our squirrels. That way we don't have to bring food, right?
You said they had a water bottle.
What's that? You have a water bottle and what? I didn't say you had a what?
You said you only had a water bottle, but if you had to hunt the squirrel, you had to have like a gun.
Well, I said you had a walking stick too. So what you do is you just wait very quietly until a squirrel runs right beneath you and you hit it with your stick. I don't know if that would work as a hunting mechanism, but maybe that's what you plan to do. I don't know. So my point is, in the status quo, this is the problem that my plan is going to solve. So this advocacy might also be called a plan. Some advocacies are plans, others are not. This is a plan, okay? Some advocacies are plans. Like this one. Such advocacies, such plans advocate that a specific course of action be undertaken. All right, now, for advocacies that are not plans, they still have a plan-ish quality to them. They just say, if I affirm the truth of something, such as individuals have a moral obligation to engage in altruism, then I'm arguing that the statement is true and we have to treat it as true. The plan, therefore, would be something like, treat this sentence as though it were true going forward. But that's not really a plan, because it doesn't require inherency. It doesn't require solvency either. Solvency is the other component of the circumstances. So does my affirmative plan have solvency here? What is solvency? Solvency means, I need to erase some stuff. You guys got all that down?
Yeah.
Okay. Solvency is basically what it sounds like. It's the capacity of a plan to solve the problem established by an inherency. So inherency tells us what's the problem with the status quo. Why is the status quo not good enough as it is? Why do we need to change it at all? Solvency says that the way you're going to change it is in fact going to impact the status quo in ways that are desirable instead of not desirable. So we've gone over inherency. Here's solvency. Solvency says how my plan solves that problem. The problem's over here. Inherency establishes what problem in the status quo and why it means we must take action. So not all problems have inherency. What's an example of a problem that has no inherency? Let's say you guys were going to go ride rides at the amusement park, and you had your friend, little Timmy. Now, Tommy and Teddy are both average height for their age. How old are you two? 11. Okay. So is Timmy. Tommy, Teddy, Timmy. Now Timmy's shorter than Tommy and Teddy. Not much, but a little bit shorter. And you guys are all going to the amusement park rides, and they all have signs that say, you must be this tall to ride. You must be this tall. Oh no! Poor Timmy. Poor Timmy can't go on any of the rides. That's a problem. You two can go on the rides, he can't go on. He's feeling left out, he's feeling sad. Even when he stands on his tippy toes, he can only get up this high. Not quite there. Oh, so sad. So I have a plan then. Let's give him surgery to extend his legs. Let's sew on another pair of legs onto the end of his feet so that he's got double legs. And now aha, now I'm way taller. Aha, look at me. Is that a good plan? Does it have inherency? Well, yes, the problem exists in the status quo. It has inherency in that sense. But here's the deal. What will happen if you just wait a few months? He'll grow. So we could either make him undergo this horrible leg surgery, which is going to take months to heal. You know, leg surgery, a 6-month process maybe. You know. Whereas if you wait 6 months, he'll just grow tall enough. So does this problem have inherency? No, it doesn't, because there's no barrier to the problem solving itself in the status quo. If I were to say, I've got a great plan to solve crime, everybody just be cool now. That doesn't have inherency because there's nothing preventing everybody from being cool now as it is. You saying that is not a plan, it's just a wouldn't it be nice if everybody were cool kind of thing. All right, so we talk about inherency, we talk about solvency. How my plan solves that problem. If we are talking about the example of the lunch question, okay, the hiking lunch question. If we're talking about the hiking lunch question, does my affirmation have solvency? Okay, regarding the hiking lunch question, does it have inherency? The answer is yes. Does it have solvency? The answer is Yes. Why does my affirmation have solvency in the hiking lunch question? Do you need more paper? Here. Why does my affirmation have solvency in the hiking lunch question? Why? Why does my affirmation have solvency in the hiking lunch question? No, that would be, if you, no, that's not my plan. What's my plan? What's the resolution? No, what's the resolution? No, what's the resolution? It's a specific sentence. You guys should pack a lunch. That's the resolution. How do I define you guys? T and T, right. Tommy and Teddy. All right, so what problem does you guys, my affirmation, purport to solve? What problem does it claim to solve? What problem is there in the status quo? What's the inherency that I have to establish in order for us to think it's a good idea to do this affirmation? What problem does it solve for you guys to pack a lunch? This is not difficult. Hunger. It purports to solve the problem of anticipated hunger. If you don't eat for the next 4 hours while you're hiking, you're going to get what? Hungry. And you won't have in the status quo, you will not have, after 4 hours, what? You will not have a lunch with you. So if we are to change the status quo, says that you pack a lunch beforehand, does my affirmation have solvency?
Yes.
Yes. Why? This is so easy. Because food solves what? Correct. Food solves hunger. If you're hungry, what's the best solution? You need to get some food, right? Okay, so my plan has inherency, correct? So far it has inherency. My plan has solvency, okay? What else does it need to have? Well, it needs to be topical. Well, it's topical. We're not going to go into that. Let's just go into these two today, okay? Solvency and inherency. All right, so now that we've discovered that my affirmation has solvency, it has inherency, again, it's me versus you guys, okay, in this debate. We're going to have a debate. Eric versus TNT. You guys don't want to pack a lunch, okay? So I'm affirming because why? No, that's not what I asked you. Why am I affirming? Who is the app? What makes them the app?
You.
What makes somebody affirming? What makes somebody app instead of neg? I'll tell you in a second. What do you guys keep whispering about? Who is app in this debate? Why am I app? Which is to say, I am advocating a what to the what? Okay, I'm affirming a resolution. I'm advocating a mia to the mianis mia. The af is the side. Af advocates a change to the what?
SQ.
Right. What does SQ stand for? Status quo, which means what?
Which means you don't have to work.
No, which means, yes, okay, that's true. But it also means, what the term means is the way things are right now. The way things are before the advocacy. What happens if my advocacy fails? It doesn't pass. Then you don't pack lunch. You can fall back to the status quo. If we negate, negation is for the status quo. failure to affirm defaults back to the status quo. So Ty goes to whom? Ty goes to whom? If the neg and the aff tie precisely, who wins the round? No, the neg. The neg wins. Tie goes to the neg. Why? Because the aff has the burden to affirm. To establish the elements of an advocacy necessary to justify an affirmation. An affirmation. And the key two elements of this are inherency, solvency, and then the third one is basically harms, which is to say you're accounts for all harms like if I might say that tardy students are a problem, right? Students come to class tardy is a problem. If my advocacy were we kill every student every time they're tardy, first offense, kill them right away. You are 1 second late, mister. Not anymore. Now you're late. You're the late fifth grader who was late. That would in fact solve the problem of tardy students, no doubt about it. Students would not come to class late. They would simply be absent every time they were running late at all. Right? Because they wouldn't want to be killed, and there's no penalty for absence. So it would solve the problem. Is it a good idea?
No.
Why not? Well, because the harms are greater than the benefits of the solution. If I were to say to you that, listen, you're going to get 5 cents a day for up to 3 months from this. And all you have to do is chop off your right arm and destroy your car and burn down your house. Is that a good deal?
No.
Why not? But you get 5 cents a day for 3 months. But if you get 5 cents every single day for 3 months, that's a lot more than 5 cents. Are you sure you don't want to take the deal? Okay, so your arm and your car and your house is worth only $5? Okay, so in that instance, I may have solved some sort of problem. You're like, I need 5 cents every day for the next 3 months. Well, here's a way you can get it. That's great. It solves that problem, but it's not worth it because the harms are too great, right? The other thing that you need to kind of establish is that that the status quo problem and the amount of solvency are significant enough to justify action. So if I say to you, I've got a bill to solve poverty. We're going to give every poor person in America 5 cents a day for 3 months. Would that solve poverty?
Yes.
Would it make all? It would? That would solve poverty? So every poor person in America is going to get, according to my plan, 5 cents a day for a total of 3 months.
No.
That won't solve poverty? It'll help though, right? A little bit, right? So we should do my plan, right? No. Why should we not do my plan? Because number one, it's not a meaningful solution to the problem. Just because some homeless people get a total of $5 more over the course of 3 months than they would otherwise have had, that's not going to solve any of their problems. And it's like pretends to be a solution to a problem. In other words, it says it's going to solve a problem and it doesn't. And additionally, it's going to cost money to implement the solution. So what if it costs us 10 cents for every 5 cents we distribute? It costs us 10 cents to give away 5 cents. What if that? Should we still do it? I mean, it's going to help a little bit, right? Well, yeah, it'll help the poor people a little bit. Is this an efficient way to help poor people? No, we have more efficient ways to help poor people if we want to spend government money on helping poor people. The thing to note is that there's something called opportunity cost. So the reason why we default neg and we don't do things that aren't clearly affirmed is because of opportunity cost. If I spend a resource, whether it's $1 or something, let's just say $1 / $1 on gum, I can't spend it on something else. All right, if I spend $1 on gum, I can't spend it on something else. So the reason why significance matters, this is also an issue of significance, is because we shouldn't, just because your idea to spend public money of $10 on something isn't a terrible idea, like it isn't actively bad, it doesn't mean it's a reasonably good choice given our list of possible choices. So if I said, here's $100, Tommy, and you have to spend it by the end of today, what might you spend it on? You spend it all by the end of today is the rule. Otherwise, I take back whatever you don't spend by the end of today. And I charge you the same amount equal to what you don't spend. So if you don't spend any of the $100, then you not only do you have to give me the $100 back, but you have to pay me an extra $100. So that's the rule. So what are you going to spend the $100 on? Everything. Well, you can't spend it on everything. You can spend it all on grapefruits. Why not? Well, I mean, if you buy enough of them, listen, this is a good way to get more vitamin C into your system. It solves a problem. You don't have enough vitamin C. It has inherency. You don't have enough vitamin C. And these grapefruits do have a lot of vitamin C, so it does solve the problem. And it accounts for all harms. It's not going to hurt you to eat a bunch of grapefruits. And the solvency is significant enough. You don't have to be hugely helped health-wise. It's a good idea to eat those grapefruits. So, yes, therefore, I affirm we should spend all the money on grapefruits. What's wrong with that idea? Did I just win? Now you're going to spend all the money on grapefruits?
Yeah.
You are? Why? What would you spend all the money on? Do you think that would be the wisest use of you spending the money? Spend $100 all on nothing but a huge crate of grapefruits? Well, why not? Didn't it pass all my tests here? Why should we negate anyways? What would you spend it on? All of it on food? Food and water, okay. Why? Why not spend it on gum? All on gum. Why is gum not good? Okay, well, what if I'm advocating you spend all $100 on sugar-free gum? Should you do it? It'll help keep your teeth busy. But it'll help keep your teeth busy. Now, if you dispose of it properly, it won't. Why should you not listen to my advocacy even if I prove to you somehow that gum's a good idea and blah, 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 blah? Because if you spend it on gum, you can't spend it on something else. Just because gum's not a terrible decision or something to spend money on doesn't mean you should definitely spend money on it, right? Maybe you don't like gum. You're the one spending the $100. Do you really want to spend it all on grapefruits? Probably not. What would you like to spend it on? Candy? Games? Something like that? What? Food and water, my ass. You guys are sure are responsible. Why wouldn't you want to spend it on a game?
Game?
Okay, fine, whatever. So who's the app in this advocacy about the hiking lunch question? Who's the affirmative? Me. Why am I the affirmative? Because I status quo. Because I am advocating to change the status quo. You guys are saying, let's just go ahead with the status quo. I'm saying, whoa, whoa, whoa there, I have an advocacy. Which makes me the what? The affirmative. Because I'm one with an advocacy, I'm the... Okay. You guys are the what? You guys are the neg side. Why are you the neg?
Because we don't want to use SQ.
Right, well in this case, because you're advocating in favor of the SQ. Now, neg doesn't always have to advocate in favor of the SQ. Neg can also, in some circumstances, neg can argue a counter plan in some circumstances. A CP, it's called in debate, a CP, okay? CPs are fine if, like, for example, you might argue in this instance that no, we shouldn't pack a lunch because there's a restaurant halfway along our hike that we're going to hike to and eat there. That would be a neg counter plan. It would successfully address the question of what? If the neg counter plan is no, we shouldn't pack a lunch, no pack lunch, because we're hiking to a restaurant. Because hiking to a restaurant. Why is this a counter plan? It's an alternate means to accomplish what? It's an alternate approach to accomplishing what? Yeah, accomplishing getting filled up with food, not being hungry. So if I'm correct that you were going to get hungry 4 hours into the trip and there's no restaurant, then I'm right. You should probably pack a lunch. But if I'm correct that you guys are going to get hungry 4 hours into the hike, but I'm unaware of the fact that there's a restaurant there, then my advocacy is wrong because it's based on some faulty assumptions. If the reason you're not packing a lunch is because you're going to hike to a restaurant, then what should we do? Affirm or negate this resolution. If you're going on a hike for 8 hours and you guys know that you're going to stop at a restaurant 4 hours into the hike, what should we do? Affirm or negate this resolution. What's the resolution again?
You guys should have to.
Okay, what's the resolution, Teddy? Okay, who's app and who's neg? Who's app and who's neg, Teddy? And what are you? Okay, so if there is a restaurant halfway into your hike, 4 hours into your hike, what should we do? Affirm or negate this resolution?
Negate.
Negate. Why? And how did the neg win that round then? With a what? CP, which stands for counter plan. What was the neg's counter plan? And how did that, what harm in the status quo did that solve? No, what's the harm in the status quo is presumed by me, the affirmative. What harm does it solve? Hunger. I'm saying you're going to be hungry in 4 hours. You have a counter plan, an alternate way to solve that same problem. So what does your counter plan solve? Hunger in 4 hours. What does my plan solve? Hunger in 4 hours. Do they both solve it equally well?
Yeah.
Okay, so who should win? It's a tie.
No.
Why? Why does tie go to the neg?
Because we don't pack lunch.
Why should tie go to the neg? The burden. App has the burden to establish the elements of an advocacy necessary to justify an affirmation. Which is to say, if you have a counter plan that gets you there without affirming, we should negate. Why? If you have a better counter plan, a better and exclusive counter plan. In this instance, it's a better plan because it's why it's part of the activity you're doing probably. You plan to go to the restaurant. Maybe that's the whole reason you're hiking is you want to try this crazy restaurant that's at the end of a hiking path. So we want to negate, we go back to the default. The default is the status quo. Anytime an affirmation fails to meet one of its known burdens, which is to say every affirmation, because it advocates a change in the status quo, whether it's an actual plan change or whether it's simply a advocacy of the truth or rightness of a resolution, advocates a change in the status quo, we should default back to the status quo if the app fails to establish any or meet any part of its burdens, because of the same reason why we should go back, why we should default to status quo in your case. The app doesn't necessarily know everything about the specifics of the situation or whatever. The neg is assuming that we can't do any harm by taking no action, whereas we might do harm by taking action with having inadequately established the elements of an affirmative case. So if the neg wins, what happens? You don't pack a lunch. If the neg wins, you do not pack a lunch. If the app wins, what happens? You pack a lunch. Now, if the neg wins because you're not going to pack a lunch because you're going to a restaurant, the neg was won by a what? By a counter plan. What's the next counter plan? Yeah, it's more fully stated. It's let's not pack a lunch to eat it after 4 hours. Let's go to the restaurant that we're hiking to after 4 hours. That's the counter plan. Why does that win the round? What part of the case does AF lose? Is it inherency, solvency, or harms?
Inherency.
Inherency, good. Why? Right. It turns out there wasn't a problem with status quo. You had the means to get lunch after 4 hours anyway. All right, good. That was pretty good, you guys. Let's take a break.